We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
And welcome everyone to the Happy Health Radio Show with Dr. J, where we listen, analyze, and talk with a heart on issues affecting your health and well-being. So I apologize I haven't been on the show for several weeks. I actually had a bout of the viral gastroenteritis, and it really forced me to revamp my diet. And I was looking into ways that you could help improve your lifestyle, because I really noticed that when we eat the typical foods, such as processed foods or fast foods, or even just eating out, and when I try to return to that diet after initially doing like a brat diet, that I don't know, I just felt very lethargic and fatigued. But then when I started trying to incorporate more of like an anti-inflammatory diet, just eating less processed foods, I just felt a lot more energetic and less stressed out, and was able to just get a lot of my tasks during the day. And so I thought that today would be it would be poignant to bring in a special guest, who is Lillian Daniels. Lillian Daniels is a health and wellness lifestyle coach and consultant at LillianDaniels.com. That's LILLIANDANIELS.com. And she's inspired by healing her own ACL tear naturally without surgery. As a health and wellness lifestyle coach, she specializes in using healthy eating methods and yoga to help clients. She helps eliminate knee pain, reduce inflammation, maintain a healthy weight, and live an energized life. And Lillian also works with organizations to help them integrate healthy habits to improve health knowledge and well-being of her employees and customers. And Lillian looks to do this in a way that saves time and allows clients to get more out of her lives, and helps the busy individual that wants their health as well as success. And Lillian pulls from over 18 years of experience of cooking vegetables and plant-based dishes, as well as her travel to Thailand to learn yoga, in which she modifies for the busy individual. So without further ado, let's welcome Lillian Daniels to the show.
Hi.
Hi, Lillian. How you doing?
I am pretty well. I'm so very excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I was going to ask, as a health and wellness lifestyle coach, could you tell us about yourself and just how you grew up, and maybe just as a kid, were you always incorporating health and wellness in your life, or was this just something that you started as an adult?
Definitely. So I grew up with my mom and my two siblings, and I grew up where we had an herb garden in the front yard, and we had June berries, which are pretty specific to the northeastern region, in the front yard. And in the backyard, we also had a vegetable garden.
Great.
And in addition to that, there was my grandmother right around the corner. And so I had my grandmother who would cook, not the vegetarian dishes, but just everything pretty much from scratch. And then in my own household, I grew up cooking and eating vegetarian and vegan foods. And so I really had the opportunity to see, okay, what can I use instead of eggs? What can I use instead of milk? I would frequently go to visit farms. We were members of CSA, and it really gave me the opportunity to kind of see where my food came from. Mm-hmm. And I learned early how to really prepare those foods. And so in terms of food, that was really huge for me.
Wow. Where was this? What part
upstate,
of
yeah. So it was upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
Syracuse,
great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's great. And I noticed, I was looking at your website, and I think I saw a picture of you, or when you were 12 years old, right? And you,
Oh yes, yes. So part of cooking everything from scratch, we were very involved in finding other people in the area that also enjoyed vegetarian and vegan foods. And so frequently we would go to potlucks or gatherings, and we would have to bring a vegetarian dish. And that responsibility fell on me. And so one day we went to a potluck, and I guess I went to so many potlucks and was creating all these dishes that I got nominated for my local paper. And so I was featured at the age of 12 in the paper for cooking vegetarian dishes. And so I think they were fried tofu, which included sesame seeds, and then I used like a bran flour, and then tofu and tomato sauce over brown rice. And so, yes, from an early age, I was in the kitchen.
yeah. And that's kind of interesting because it seems like when you think of usual people who are in elementary school and little kids, usually, they're always comparing who has the best lunchbox compared to their classmates, and they always kind of ask their parents for the Fruit Loops, and or like those roll-ups, and just a lot of the processed foods, and like sodas and candies and cookies and crackers. And it seems like you've always had a healthy diet, like growing up. And why is that? Was it more of your parents' upbringing, or?
Definitely so. In addition to having my grandmother close by, I was homeschooled up until the 8th grade. And so there wasn't really any peer pressure to compare. I was literally comparing, what my brother and sister were eating, which was all the same thing. And so I was used to, getting pancakes made from scratch in the morning and then working with my grandmother to cook whatever would be for lunch and dinner. And so I think that definitely has molded me into, what I go back to now. And so I help, write articles for other publications that speak on healthy eating. And so the way I was raised truly affected what I cook now. So now I'll be like, okay, what did grandma cook? What did mom cook when I was younger? And those are the dishes, those are the recipes that I pull on to cook now. And so that really brought me to the realization that, what kids grow up on is kind of what they're going to adapt as adults, unless they make a huge effort to go in the other direction. So that was very helpful, learning how to cook vegetables and cook everything from scratch from an early age.
I think you make a good point, because it seems like a lot of adults now, they've been indoctrinated since they were kids to eat sugary cereals and to eat McDonald's or other fast foods because that's what they see on TV. That's great that you weren't indoctrinated into that, because it seems like that was what was shown all over on TV growing up, especially, when you're watching Saturday morning cartoons. I don't think even have Saturday morning cartoons anymore, but as a kid we had that. And that's all they showed. They showed just things for Fruit Loops and McDonald's and everything. And so, were you ever influenced by media as a kid, or by that? Because
And that was another thing. So I didn't grow up having a TV. And so in addition to, I had to figure out how to entertain myself. And so, I would go out to play, and it was kind of funny. People always, my cousins make fun of the fact that, we would play chase, and I would always want to be it because I would enjoy running around and catching everybody. They wouldn't really enjoy getting caught, but I saw it as fun. And so, I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed going outside and playing chase. I had a book called, Yoga for Kids at a young age, so I kind of started, that journey to yoga just early on. And then on top of that, by not having a TV in the house, I think that's a great point that you said. That's just one less huge influencer that would kind of dictate my decision.
And I think that's true because you didn't have a TV. You didn't feel compelled to stay inside. And so probably that's probably what prompted you to be a lot more active outside. And I think that's really great that you're already involved in yoga as a young kid. Was that a book that you came upon? Like, how did you get a book regarding yoga? Was that your parents, or was it something you just ran into yourself, or?
Yeah, I think I got lucky. I think my mom picked it up. I think she was like, this might be interesting for the kids to know. And so that was one of the books. And we also had a lot, we had books, a bookshelf filled with, cookbooks for kids. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, you would see one of my favorite cookbooks, the pages are sticking together. Oh. And so, I'll try to, man, what was it that, I had to put in it? I was like, oh, this looks like molasses. Okay, it must be molasses I have to put in. So, yeah.
Wow. And it seems like it was great that you always carried on a very active lifestyle. I read on your website that you were quite active during high school. You were part of the 2005 Women's Basketball Championship team from Notting Hill High School. And in track, you set a record in the 400-meter hurdles, which stood for 6 years. And it seems like in college, when you were at Howard, you qualified for the 400-meter hurdles championships, as well as attended the Penn relays. So it seems like you were always incorporating an active lifestyle throughout your life.
Definitely. And having an active lifestyle, as well as having an active lifestyle, a healthy, diet, and being able to take care of your mental well-being are 3 areas that really contribute to longevity. And so as I've grown, I've transitioned from, I just want to be in shape, I want to be in shape, to I want to be able to be in shape, long, far into my, later years. And so it's really awesome that yoga has helped to start playing a part in that. But yeah, I swam competitively in junior high, and that was exciting. And then I transitioned into being a lifeguard. But 2 things that I continued to do was I did track and I did basketball, and it was definitely exciting winning the state championship game and setting various records in track. That was always very fun. And then I continued on to run track in college.
Wow. No, that's great to hear. And I just also want to let our listeners know that if you have any questions for Lillian Daniels regarding health and well-being, you can feel free to call us at area code 323-473-3100 with your questions and comments. As a disclaimer, the contents of the show is not intended to treat, diagnose, or substitute for medical advice. If you have any questions, please see your personal healthcare provider for appropriate evaluation of your individual case. That's just my little friendly disclaimer. But as I was reading your biography, you did mention that you were inspired by healing of your own ACL tear. Could you talk about your ACL injury?
Absolutely. So after graduating in 2009, I continued on to get my MBA in Washington, D.C. And in undergrad, I wasn't supposed to pick up basketball. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of missed it. So in graduate school, I had the opportunity, and someone was like, hey, Lillian, come play a game with us. And I did. And I was going up for a rebound or such, and I came down, and I knew something wasn't right. I was in so much pain. The top part of my knee was just going in one direction, the bottom part was going in the opposite direction, and my knee was literally like jello. I was freaking out because, I was about to graduate from grad school, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go in and get this job where I'll probably be sitting down for most of the time, so I need to be able to stay in shape. I need to be able to be active. And that immediately entered my mind because I was just like, with this tear or this injury, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so I immediately started looking for, okay, who's the best surgeon? What has been the experiences that people have had that had ACL tears? And so I started asking friends, and I started, trying to figure out, okay, who's the doctor that treats the pros? And so I had an assumption that if I were to get surgery, I would literally come back with a robotic knee. I was just I'm going to be the Terminator. My knee is going to be the best shape of life, And after speaking with some individuals, I realized that that wasn't the case. People were, still active and such, but it wasn't as, super, I guess, out of this world as I thought. So I kind of held off on getting the surgery, and I moved on to go to New York City. And during that time, I just kind of rehabilitated my knee. I changed my diet, and I, did the various exercises, micro exercises, as well as some suggested physical therapy exercises, and worked my way into the level of physical activity that I wanted to get to. And so ultimately, I ended up not getting the surgery. I now run 5 miles daily without pain, and that really inspired me because that fear was huge. I was absolutely terrified, and the fact that I was able to heal my own knee, I was just like, man, I have to share this with other individuals, and at least inform them of the option. So, there's always the option to do anything, to get surgery or to use other methods. But I really felt that it was valuable to understand the option of not getting surgery and how to go about doing it, because, we're not doctors or surgeons. Or I'm not. You are. Yeah. I'm not. I'm not a surgeon, so it can be like, I'm like, who am I to, not get surgery?
Sure.
And so it's just like, it's nice to have that option. So yeah.
I mean, it's always interesting when you do consult with different orthopedic surgeons, because sometimes you could always have different opinions. Like one could say, yes, you should definitely have surgery, and others can say, well, this can be managed conservatively. So I suppose that you were able to consult some orthopedic surgeons who said it could be managed conservatively, and you went through the appropriate rehabilitation. What type of physical therapy did you go through where you did not have to undergo surgery?
Yeah, so there was a lot. And the first doctor that I encountered, he was just like, surgery, no questions about it. But then I did more research, and I found out that other doctors, would suggest, maybe you can wait for it. And so in terms of the exercise that I did, there were a lot of micro exercises. So a micro exercise is also a yoga term where you are working on strengthening the joints that control and really harness the flow of blood. And by allowing your blood to flow correctly, it increases the ability for your body to heal itself. And so I think that a lot of the exercises that are also known as micro exercises from yoga can be similar to the physical therapy. So one example that I absolutely love is kind of the quad tightening, and that's really strengthening the muscle above the knee, which will support you being able to do physical activities. Another one is really doing the ABCs with your toes, and that's really moving the ankle joint, which controls a great deal of blood flow again. And so those are two keys that I absolutely they're my favorite. So a lot of exercises that strengthen the quad, and then also the stationary bike, which helps to breathe and regain the range of motion.
Sure. And this injury in your ACL was around, I think you mentioned 2010, when it was?
Yes.
And then how long was your rehabilitation before you felt you were able to get back to your normal state of function?
Yeah, and so that's kind of funny. It's like, how are we going to define normal state of function?
Yeah.
So a little about me. So I ran the 400 hurdles in college, and part of that was having to participate in a few cross-country meets. Now, before college, I did not run over a mile. I thought it was torture. I was completely intimidated by it. And so when I finished and graduated, I was just like, I am not going to run a mile if I don't have to again. And so it's like I started, not wanting or not being able to run, over 3 miles. And I ended at, now I run 5 or 6 daily. And so I would say about a year. After a year, I was able to stay on the treadmill for 40 minutes pain-free without my brakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so during this time after a year, then were you already in New York City at this time?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then, so I understand that after you received your MBA, then you were working in New York City and in an accounting firm and what have you, very successful accountant. And then, how did you then get involved in health and wellness counseling or consulting?
Yeah, so the transition came from I wanted to solve issues that I had, right? And so going to work every day, I was just like, okay, how can I fight craving? So I love, various foods. Like I love sweets, I love snacks. And so it's just like getting from my door to the door of my job, it was kind of like crossing a gauntlet. And so I was just like, okay, how do I fight temptations? And so there would be little solutions that I'd have to come up with, like, pack snacks that you like. So instead of saying, well, you can't have cake, replace it with a healthy alternative that tastes good as well. And so it really started from wanting to solve issues that I had. So the issue that I had was my ACL was torn. And so it's like solving that and finding out that other individuals had the same challenge. And then with the food area, I said, okay, how do I make food convenient? So how can I do it in an affordable manner? And how can I do it in a way that saves time? So there would be solutions such as freezing vegetables or figuring out, okay, when do I have to shop so that I'm not spending, every hour of my time shopping to get fresh fruits and vegetables. And then in terms of the cost aspect, when you're buying fresh, you have the challenge of, the fruits and vegetables rotting. And so it's like figuring out, okay, how do I preserve those? How do I cook them in time? And so that's really how I got into that. I was just like, I really want to help individuals solve issues that I'm having because they really, really bothered me. And then also seeing that there was a demand for it and that other people had the same challenges that I had, it really kind of pushed me to go forward with it.
Great. And so you began then providing advice to other individuals regarding their health and well-being in their diet and exercise?
Definitely. Yeah. And it was interesting because a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, how do I do this? Like, I'm trying to get in shape. And so it's kind of like a lot of people have personal trainers, and the personal trainers offer awesome, diet, and and a lot of my friends are like, okay, well, how do I stick to it? So as opposed to making it a diet and like a one-time thing, how do I make it sustainable? How do I work this into my lifestyle without feeling like I'm depriving myself of something that I've kind of learned to love? And so, yeah.
So let's just kind of keep it. I just want to maybe an example that we could tell our audience. So let's say, you yourself, while you were working full time as an accountant, and you had very little time to prepare things. Like, what was your day like in terms of preparing meals efficiently? Like, is there examples you could give, or?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things are chickpeas. I absolutely love chickpeas, and I don't buy canned beans unless there's absolutely no other resource. Like if I'm visiting family from out of town and they, don't have access at the moment.
Okay.
So it's like to cook that, to cook chickpeas or cook dried beans, you have to soak them, and then you have to, cook them on the stove, and that's if you don't have a pressure cooker. And so what I do is I will make a huge batch of chickpeas at the beginning of the week, like soak them overnight, and then just boil them and then let them simmer and then drain them, put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. And then that allows me to kind of, I don't want to say fast food, but, make a quick meal. So it's like I can pull out a cup of chickpeas, mix it together with some onions, the garlic, and the green, and I'm good to go. And also, it's kind of strategic in choosing something that can be used in multiple uses. So chickpeas, you can add it sauteed, you can grind it up to make falafel, you can, make a burger out of it. And so using flexible ingredients like that helps to cut down on the time needed. And then also I know traveling, like if you're traveling, so you have a client in other states, and you don't have the luxury of cooking, ahead of time. You might be out of town for like 10 days or 5 days. Another aspect is knowing what to choose on the menus that you're going to encounter. But yes, chickpeas and freezing of them are one of my favorite tricks.
Yeah, and just for some education to our audience, actually chickpeas have been associated with a number of possible health benefits from many conditions. For diabetes, they have shown that it helps regulate their blood sugars better. It helps in bone health because chickpeas does contain a lot of iron, phosphate, calcium, magnesium, manganese, and zinc, and vitamin K. And they all help in maintaining bone structure and strength. And they also help lower blood pressure because of the potassium that's in the chickpeas and the high fiber, potassium, vitamin C, and vitamin B6 content, coupled with the lack of cholesterol found in chickpeas, all support heart health. And chickpeas actually also contain selenium, which is a mineral that is not present in most fruits and vegetables, and it can be found in chickpeas, and that can play a role in helping detoxify some cancer-causing compounds in the body. So I just wanted to put that out there that a lot of chickpeas are actually very, very healthy for you. And it contributes to like the Mediterranean diet that a lot of people like to tout as a pretty healthy form of diet. So I just want to put it out there for our audience to listen. Well, that's great. Well, what we'll do is we're going to take a 2-minute break. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get back and then we're going to talk more about the different consulting services that you help with your clients as a health and wellness consultant. So we'll be back with the Dr. J Happy Health Radio Show in a moment with our special guest, Lynn Daniels.
Needing you, it isn't hard. With you, I can't let down my guard. Stay secure, that's all I'm asking of you. Stay secure. I wish I had words to tell this feeling that I know so well, but I don't. All that I can say. 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 I've always been curious.
Hi, this is Elena inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Frank. And this is Ruslan. Inviting you to join us every Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for Cool Classics. Join us as we discuss classical cool in the arts, what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. So don't forget to tune in to Cool Classics every Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Radio Flag, TuneIn Radio, Aha Radio, TiVo Radio, and Apple TV Radio. Or just watch and listen directly at Cool Classics on latalklive.com. Classic radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and this is Frank, and this is Ruslan. And we are more than just talk.
And welcome back to the Happy Health Radio Show with Dr. J, where we listen, analyze, and talk with a heart on issues affecting your health and well-being. We have our special guest, Lillian Daniels, who's a health and wellness lifestyle coach and consultant at LillianDaniels.com. She can also be reached on Instagram, Lillian_Daniels, or you can email her at Lillian@LillianDaniels.com. And we welcome all calls to our audience, so feel free to call us at 323-473-3100 with your questions and comments. So today, if you're just tuning in right now, we're talking about what can we do in our lives to help prevent disease? Or just because Hippocrates, the father of medicine, always said that the first responsibility of a physician is to prevent disease. And I always felt that there's always 4 tenets: an anti-inflammatory diet, which we will talk more with Lillian about; exercise, which we have been talking about previously on the first half of the show; stress control, and also just avoidance of environmental toxins, which whether that's smoking, excess alcohol, unnecessary medical radiation for tests, excessive exposure to toxins and pesticides in our food, industrial toxins in containers such as plastic bottles and canned foods. So now, Lillian, what has you been experienced in terms of like an anti-inflammatory diet?
Definitely. So it's interesting in terms of inflammation. At first, I just thought about, okay, my knee was swollen, that, something physical that I could see. But then I realized that it also has to do with kind of like disease. So like whenever I catch a cold and I get that, that really congestion, I'm like, oh, that's connected to inflammation. Mm-hmm. And so within the anti-inflammatory diet, I really try to cut down on processed foods as well as foods that might have high levels of, like you said, chemicals or foreign ingredients. And so for that, I really try to do organic, and I try to reduce my consumption of meat and dairy. And one thing I really found out was that going to become a member of a CSA, so I literally just looked up, okay, CSA in New York. And
can you explain to our audience what a CSA is?
Definitely. So CSA is community supported agriculture. And so with that, you basically sign up to get a box of vegetables or a box of fruits and vegetables. You get to choose every week or every 2 weeks. And it's a group of individuals, and the person providing those fruits and vegetables are a farm. And the farm will have their, will let you know, okay, are we organic? Are all our fruits and vegetables organic? And the degree to the nutritional value of it. And then in addition to that, you have the opportunity to actually go and physically visit this farm. And so it really allows for a straight solution to getting fresh fruits and vegetables. And so as opposed to going to the grocery store or, going to the farmer's market, you get to kind of see and know the farmer that is planting your food. And that's really, I absolutely love that, being in a city area where I might not have enough space to have a garden in my backyard.
Yeah. And I think this is all very important to eat more of a plant-based diet because it is more full of fiber, protein, has cell-protective antioxidants from the whole grains and vegetables, beans and lentils, nuts and seeds. We've definitely always been a meat and potato society for a long time. And and it's always concerning because there's actually a lot of other countries outside the United States where the majority of meat is actually grass-fed, and I can't really know if you could say that for the United States. And I think that's this month is Bowel Cancer Awareness Month in many countries. I think last month was in Canada. And it's interesting because United States Preventive Task Force, they made an announcement where their solution to preventing bowel cancer was to make everyone take a low-dose aspirin between the ages of 50 to 69. And it was in the Annals of Internal Medicine. And aspirin itself can also have a lot of potential side effects as increased bleeding. It can cause gastric ulcers. It can potentially cause a hemorrhagic stroke. But then when I was reading other countries such as Ireland, they made I felt like their task force was very preventative. They were discussing to cut back in animal products such as processed meats and trans fats. They were talking about eating a plant-based diet. They said to incorporate more flax seeds, have less refined grains or sugars, and to use more healthier sources of protein. That is not just meat. That you could get that from fermented soya products. You can get it from. Well, they were just also saying that buying like fermented products in general, such as yogurt, could actually help improve like gut bacteria and decrease inflammation and immune function, and that eating things like oily fish that are not that are sustainable and that were not caged can be rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats and vitamin D. So I just found it interesting that other countries really tout a very healthy lifestyle that they almost like implement in their government literature to the greater public. But here it seems like we just tell people to take an aspirin.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned fermenting. I know when my friend started making kimchi, and I went to visit another friend in upstate, and there was this kimchi that had a Thai.
Mm-hmm.
It was Thai, a lot of Thai spices in it. It was absolutely delicious. But it's interesting, like you said, it helps with digestion, further helps the body, and it's definitely, if possible, it's best to do preventative, so you don't get to the point where, you're freaking out or it's a really serious situation. So, I really appreciate the lesson.
Yeah, and it's not, and the things that people think that are just regular things that you just have to deal with, like constipation, they don't realize that when you keep, I'm sorry if people are out there, if you're eating or something, but I just want to say that constipation itself can increase inflammation in the bowel. And when you're leaving more bowels in your stomach before evacuating, it's basically the carcinogens and the toxins in food stay longer in your body, which could then lead to a lot of problems in the future. So that's why eating a high fiber diet is very important. It seems like it's not something that we tend to talk about a lot in our diets. People are always very focused on very high protein, low carb, low fat, right? And there's actually a lot of good fats, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting. Something that can kind of confuse me with fiber, and maybe you can help clarify, is with fiber, I think the tool of fiber is to help move things through the system, but if it's not coupled with high doses of water or hydrating, then it could cause a challenge. Is that the case?
That is very true. That's why a lot of people who initially try to start a high fiber diet, they tend to stop it because they feel too bloated, or they get abdominal cramps because they're not drinking enough water. And as we all know, that the adage that people have always said that to drink 8 glasses of water a day is very true. And I don't think a lot of us drink enough fluids throughout the day. So that's very true. But going back to a lot of people saying how they're always trying to tout like a low-fat diet when there's actually a lot of healthy fats that are out there. And you yourself have a recipe like cashew milk, which is very it's nutrient rich and a lot of healthy fats, like health protective monounsaturated fats.
Absolutely. I love a healthy fat. Once I found out that, your brain kind of feeds off of fat, I'm like, I need more. And so, yes, I absolutely love my cashew milk recipe. It's just 1 cup of cashews and about 4 cups of water. And you soak overnight, and then you blend in your blender until it's like a milk substance.
Okay.
And then if you want something, that's creamier, like a creamer for your coffee or such, you can just add less water. And then if you want flavoring, you can add vanilla.
We just put up a bag of cashews there from Trader Joe's, and does it end up costing less to make your own cashew milk as opposed to buying it?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a little bit less. It's almost the same. So a bag of cashews at Trader Joe's is about, I want to say, $6.50. And each container contains about 3.5 cups. And so if you break that down, it's about $2 per cup. And then, you add in the water. So for $2, you can get at least a quart of cashew milk.
And that's great because cashew milk in itself, probably, I assume that by doing it this method, it's less processed than when you do buy it from the grocery store.
Definitely. And I think one thing that's really interesting is understanding how the processing of our foods ultimately affect how we are able to digest it, as well as its nutrient value. So say you get something canned and the canning process requires heating it up to a high a high temperature, and it's like, okay, well, I have to ask, okay, if that means that it's heated to a high temperature, am I losing nutrients through that process? And then through the packaging of different milks, like there's a lot of cashew milk, almond milk, rice milk, and all these milks, and they're in the different containers, like cardboard containers, and it's like, okay, well, how has the packaging or the processing of this item affect the end result of nutrients that I'm looking to get? And so that's one reason why I came up with that recipe, because I really wanted something that was nutritious, and I really wanted something, creamy to go with my chai tea.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably a lot more creamier than like rice milk.
Yes.
Yeah, and at least for the nutrients that you can find, there's a lot of different nutrients like phosphorus, manganese, zinc, but actually cashews are very rich in copper, and copper actually plays a wide range in physiological processes. And it has, I can go into the superoxide dismutase and all these fancy names of enzymes. But basically what it does, it provides ground substance and flexibility in blood vessels, bones, and joints. So the intake of the copper that you can get from cashew, that's why they tout it as very heart healthy. And it increases decreases any free radical productions as well. They say that if you have a low diet, a diet that's low in copper, where copper is inadequate, that could lead to anemia, ruptured blood vessels, osteoporosis, joint problems such as rheumatoid arthritis, brain disturbances, elevated LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and reduced HDL, which is the good cholesterol. And so definitely cashews has a lot of good health benefits. So, and I like that it's raw.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and also part of it, because it's raw, it's able kind of to soak up more of the water. Because I do like, roasted cashews, but if I use a cooked cashew, I'm not sure if it would soak up as much hydration.
Yes.
And also if we would lose some of the nutrients.
Yes, that's true. No, definitely. Well, that's great. And then, so if people log on to your website, do you share, what do you share there? Different recipes and different things like that? Or?
Definitely. So I'm working on creating kind of a flow of different tips that people can use on a daily basis, because overall I really care about impact. And so like when I went to Thailand, I was like, okay, how can I translate what I've learned here to an everyday person? And so it's like, I want to make yoga, I want to make healthy eating non-intimidating. So I would definitely, if people want to go there to sign up, it would be awesome, because there's a lot of awesome things coming that are easy to digest. And I do that because I need something easy to digest. So, for example, with meditation, I was very intimidated by, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I learn yoga, I need to be able to meditate for an hour. And it's just like, I have to make it really easy for myself, but still be able to get the benefits. And so that, things like that in terms of yoga, as well as in terms of like healthy eating. Like there's certain questions I have, like there's so much information, and I'm just trying to pull out what's very important and what really matters. Like, how is this healthy for me? How can I benefit from it?
Sure.
Kind of immediately. And so that's really what my website is going to be a source for, and is a source for.
And you learned how to relax better when you were in Thailand. Can you talk more about your experiences in Thailand?
Definitely. And I think it was interesting. It was exciting to see a lot of the assumptions that I had kind of clarified, or replaced with the reality. So, for example, understanding that it's okay to simply start the morning off with taking 3 deep breaths. And if that's where you start with your meditation practice, that's absolutely fine, as opposed to fighting yourself. So if you're, doing a pose and you're very flexible, but you're not in a, kind of a peaceful state, some may say that that's not yoga. And so I realized when I went to Thailand that part of yoga is really getting a great relationship with yourself. And I learned to not be as anxious and to be more patient with myself and understand that with that would come a higher rate of productivity. Because we're all like, oh my gosh, got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done. And I would have that. And so I would have a list of like 10 things to do. And I would end up accomplishing almost none of them or half of one of them. But at the same time, I would be stressed. And I would correlate that stress to productivity or having accomplished something. And so, going to Thailand really helped me to focus better. And it helps me to deepen my yoga practice so that I'm able to better teach other individuals as well as improve the quality of my life. And also understand that yoga isn't just the poses and the fact that there's breathing exercises or there's meditation, there's how you treat yourself as well as you treat the world around you and how that all ties into a huge benefit of yoga.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely important that you said that. Regardless of how busy we are and how many things that we need to accomplish in the day, it seems like there's always a list that will never be checked off, and that we always have to give ourselves time for relaxation and meditation. In addition to deep breaths, is there any other things you do to help meditate, or you teach your clients in terms of how to de-stress from the daily just trials and tribulations of life?
Definitely. So one thing, I guess I'll give 2 awesome nuggets that I love, is like a lot of people have challenges with digestion. And so it's like, if you want to Google yoga twisting poses, all of those poses kind of help to stimulate the stomach and stimulate the digestive system. And so that's one. But in terms of calming down, one thing that I absolutely learned and loved was the Brahmari breath. And so that's basically where you place the 4 fingers over your eye, and then you hold your thumb to your ear, and then you hum. You inhale, and then you exhale and hum. And Brahmari is also known for bees breathing. And so it really allows you to kind of step away from the world no matter where you are. So you get to be with yourself and hear your breath and calm down, in addition to a deep breath. And so I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't even thought about it. So, yeah.
Wow. No, those are definitely good techniques to employ. So when people are contacting you, I assume they can contact you through your website. You have a contact there in terms of they did want to avail of your health and wellness consulting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what's involved? And can you just for our listeners, if they were interested in approaching you for health and wellness consulting, like what is involved in that?
Definitely. So we start off with, you have the opportunity to do 1 session or you can do multiple sessions. And we start off by really assessing what your goal is. And so I'll ask a few questions, and you'll fill out a form, and it helps me to see, okay, where you are in terms of your diet, in terms of if it's me, what's paining, like what's really bothering you, what's your goal after we complete our sessions? Is it to run miles, or is it to be able to get up from your chair without, using any hands? And so I really try to understand what the client's end goal is. And so we can do multiple sessions, but ultimately I go through what they fill out on their form, and I give an assessment as to action items that they should take into place. And then when we meet again, they can let me know, okay, you had a challenge here or there, and I have the opportunity to really customize a plan for them. So say the treatment for a stay-at-home mom might be different for someone that's always on the road. So stay-at-home mom might be join a CSA. Whereas someone that's always on the road, if they join a CSA, they're not going to be able to see the vegetables that they're getting. So they might need a new solution, for example, like knowing how to navigate which items to get on the menu, what to avoid, and what techniques to use to make sure that they're pain-free or achieving whatever their end goal is. So, yeah, that's the individual aspect. And then I also work with corporations and nonprofits that want to implement healthy eating and wellness into their culture. And so there's definitely an aspect of taking care of the people that you're working with to help them be, there's, the productivity aspect, and of course just, being around happy people. So,
Yeah, that's true.
So those are the areas.
Have there been any examples of certain challenges that an organization or a work environment had that you helped implement in terms of health and well-being?
Yeah, I think one thing is really, I think stress is a huge one. And so it's really helping individuals understand how to de-stress. And so I really enjoy helping in that area, as well as like with a corporation, the healthier and the healthier and the happier your employees are, just the better the environment. And so it's really about empowering everyone that you're working with.
Yeah, I think it's important that you mention that, because when people think of inflammation, they always think of red hot tender, like a swollen finger associated like with a splinter and injury. But there's also the other aspect of inflammation, which is silent inflammation. There's been studies that people with post-traumatic stress disorder could have the same inflammatory molecules in their spinal fluid. And there's also been CT scans that showed brain inflammation in people with various mental illness, such as depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disease. So that it's that silent inflammation that can be very dangerous in the long term, because when you have chronic inflammation, that's when that could lead to a lot of the problems, whether it's heart disease, cancer, mental disease, Alzheimer's, just things like that. And I think a lot of people don't think about that silent aspect of inflammation, which can be increased with stress.
And it's interesting that I learned that stress can literally change your DNA, and to know that is absolutely interesting. It's crazy. And so I think let's say you're doing everything right. You're like, I work out, I eat healthy, but you have a heavy amount of stress. It's like you could still possibly be shortening the number of days that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do people in general, like, for example, you mentioned that you help stay-at-home moms, right? And a lot of people think that people who work think that their lives are easier, but actually it can be quite stressful. I mean, especially if they're raising young kids and they have to get all. I mean, there was actually a New York Times article I read recently where there were affluent families paying up to $180,000 a year for nannies to take care of their kids. And I still don't think $180,000 is enough, because if you divide them out all the hours that they spend, that's still less than $20 an hour to take care of kids. And I don't think people realize how much stress could be involved in stay-at-home moms.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. Like I was talking to my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm going to advise on healthy tips for kids. And she was like, well, I wouldn't advise you do that until you have kids. And I was like, I think she wants grandkids. But I understood, I took the perspective that she had. I was like, well, what did you find was easier? And she found things like, having us help out. And because it can be challenging, from what she shared with me. I mean, I was an awesome kid, but
no, and it's interesting you mention that, because a lot of times stay-at-home moms, they do so much for their family and taking care of the kids, and usually when people come home, it can be very dismissive when their significant other would say, "Oh, well, what did you do all day?"
Yeah, no.
So, but yeah, I think it's very interesting that, I mean, this is really great. It seems like you have so many great aspects in your health and wellness consulting. You can help stay-at-home moms. You can help the I'm sure the Wall Street broker that's chronically stressed in Manhattan. So, yeah, no, that's really great. Is there anything that you would like to impart to our audience in terms of what you have learned in just being a health and wellness consultant, what you have seen in a lot of your clients? Is there any meaning like universal theme of terms of challenges that people have had?
Oh, absolutely. So I guess I can be kind of a quote person.
Yeah.
And so the first quote I would say is just be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself in every way possible. And then the other quote, which isn't as soft, is, you are always what you eat. And so I add the always because there are subtle things that we can overlook. For example, how we were speaking earlier about how protein and fiber and, a couple other areas of nutrients that we absolutely need are highlighted, but other nutrients are not, and other factors of our well-being are not, brought to light. And so it's like, it doesn't mean freak out about everything that you're eating, but just be a little bit aware. Like, okay, am I getting, the nutrients that I need? Do I need to take a supplement? And so it's just like understanding you are always what you eat, and, be kind to yourself. And that will help to reduce your stress. That will improve the relationship that you have with yourself and really improve the quality of life that you have.
No, that's...
And in terms of... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And in terms of, I guess, consistent themes, I really think we should try to explore more vegetables and try cooking them in different ways. And that's something I try to help out with is, I know I wouldn't eat something if it doesn't taste good. So when someone says, Lillian, eat some carrots because they're healthy, I'm like, well, I don't want carrots and ranch. And so it's like, explore other ways that you can get your needed intake of fruits and vegetables. So, for example, I'll shred my carrots instead of, eating them with dip. And I'm like, okay, I can eat it this way. And so, but yeah, I say eat more vegetables, be kind to yourself, and remember you are always what you eat.
Oh, no, that's very true. Yeah, I just like to emphasize that theme, and you brought it, that really that those 4 tenets of eating that anti-inflammatory diet, exercise, stress control, and avoiding environmental toxins. No, these are all very important topics that we are discussing, and I think you're definitely an asset, and I would love to have you in our show again to discuss more in depth about how to live a more healthy lifestyle. So I want to thank you so much, Lillian, for being on my show. And
thank you.
And if for any of our audience that would like to know more about her services, they can contact her through the LillianDaniels.com website, or you can email her at lillian@lilliandaniels.com. If you have any general questions about this radio show, you can feel free to Twitter me at Dr. J Radio, or you can email me at happyhealthradio@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Lillian, again, for being on our show, and thank you to our audience for listening. Yes, and we will look forward to our audience tuning in next time on an episode of Happy Health Radio with Dr. J.
Awesome.
And take care.
Clap along if you feel like happy.
LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Are you in pain? Don't wait. Call 818-939-9398. Are you suffering from pain in your back, neck, muscles, or joints? Then let our team of expert doctors at Innovative Pain and Spine Physicians determine the cause of your pain. Innovative Pain and Spine Physicians is located in the greater Los Angeles area and is comprised of Happy Health Radio's host, Dr. Jay Villanueva, and his highly esteemed colleague, Dr. Matthew Root, who are both board-certified physicians in pain medicine and interventional pain management. We are here to listen to your pain symptoms, perform the appropriate physical and diagnostic exams, and create a safe treatment plan tailored to your specific needs. We accept Medicare and most private insurances and have flexible appointment hours. So if you got pain, don't wait. Call 818-939-9398 to make your appointment today so you can get your life back. Again, if you're in pain, don't wait. Call 818-939-9398.